that we use is inside these buckets. It goes in a bag and we keep it. The bins have our books, they have our planning, they have all the projects, they have new ideas, they have everything that you can imagine that you would want to use. You have to really think outside the box if you're going to do these. Otherwise it gets very expensive trying to buy all this. Keep your trash and do weird stuff with it. I want you guys to have the opportunity to be creative. We make our own felt pieces, we make our own magnets. If it is something, then I think that we should probably go ahead and get it started if it's something that some of you would want to do. Some of you enjoy having to go out and plan. Write all your plans down, get a week ahead, get a month ahead. Some people like it. I used to years ago, maybe when I started doing this 25 years ago. Over time, Dawn and I felt like we got a little bit, that got redundant, and it was a little bit of a waste of time because you go in and you plan all these things all year long, or maybe 6 months, and then you start over. Where did all that stuff go? How many of you are keeping and recycling that every single year? Your plans, probably my too. So what we ended up doing, and it was a culmination of the planning part of it, but also because we had so much crap, because Dawn and I tend to hoard things. We do not get rid of things. We decided that planning in bins for us would be the easiest way. Number one, we don't have to sit down in the hallway and take a break or do all that. That leaves more time at the time for all of my staff to plan. Number two, we were getting a little older and that just was not fun or conducive to our outside life anymore because a lot of our planning came from home, our home time. And number three, this is easy. We can walk in the morning and I haven't had to crack a book of any kind of planning. I haven't had to look at Pinterest. I haven't had to do anything because everything that we use is inside these buckets. We do have extras of a lot of things. So we took our Dr. Seuss books and everything that we had, doubles up, we started a new bin. I used some of the money that came from some of our funding and started some other bins. But what I want to show you is kind of how they work. And I also bought basically year-long planning off of Teachers Pay Teachers, which is in there, and I'll show that to you because it's a complete printout. You could probably use it for a week, maybe 2, and you can laminate all of it and start doing this. We have been collecting over the years, and every time we do something, we're the Ziploc queens. It goes in a bag and we keep it. Now our file's not in here. Our file's in one of the big, we have big totes of Dr. Seuss. There's a file in there and it has every project that we've ever done. And a lot of times as a teacher we'll do one and keep it and put it back in there so that we remember next year the hats or the footprints or whatever it was we did. And so that file now is, I don't know, probably a good half a bin thick, has everything we've ever used so that when we walk in the morning, we choose our large group and our small group, and if we're gonna do a plop and do at the table, it's all right there, and we haven't had to step outside the classroom. We felt like this was how to keep track of everything we did. We had it in filing cabinets at one point, and that was a disaster. I don't file well, so that was horrible. And so the bins became everything for us. So the bins have our books, they have our planning, they have all the projects, they have new ideas, they have everything that you can imagine that you would want to use for we do a month or so of Dr. Seuss. We have more than enough in here. And a lot of times the other classrooms will come and ask because we have all the projects and we're able to give them ideas and give them that stuff. Now, if you get an idea off of Pinterest, the other thing you want to do, when you use that in your classroom, either print it off or laminate it, stick it in your bucket, or make an example, do the teacher example and stick it in your bucket. These ones are just a few of the small ones. Here's one of the spring. I think we have 4 or 5 buckets, and it includes spring and bugs and just that stuff. We've tended to get to where we do author studies. The kids, just like mimicking, like David said, they will remember when you say, and who was the book by? Eric Carle. And who did this drawing? Eric Carle. And how are we? And they, pretty soon, when they see a book on the shelf, hey, that's a book by Eric Carle. And you'd be amazed at how surprised their parents are that they know who an author is of a book, who created that. So that became something we did. We've got bins of Leo Leone. She's the one with the mice and the fish and we got a bucket of that. We have every single book of the little lady, the fly, all that stuff. We have every one of those books, and that bucket is the same. It has all the file folders, so that you can switch out every center. You can do your science, you can do your library. We have housekeeping buckets, so you can switch out everything in your classroom. You can use just about everything in here to add to your centers. What Dawn and I have always done is we keep everything. You have to really think outside the box if you're going to do these. Otherwise it gets very expensive trying to buy all this. Inside all of these though is everything that you need for your projects. So you have all of your, we do lots of weird things with all this stuff. Like this looks funky, this was in the sensory. We end up keeping, even like when we shred our paper these were probably the butterflies that we did, we keep everything in there. That way when you go back the following year, you're not spending an hour doing that again. Everything is in here. The bees from our bucket. We have farm buckets. We have as many of those as we do Dr. Seuss. Our storage is, I don't know how big it is, but it's floor to ceiling and you can't walk in it. It's so full. We had an idea to split the buckets up from farm and start a bee section, and we taught the kids about bees. This was one of the best things last year, it wasn't the kids this year. They went home and talked about this, and we got a lot of parents coming back saying how much they knew, how many things they had learned. But these are the types of things I'm talking about. Keep your trash and do weird stuff with it. Put some potting soil and seeds into your sensory. Let them play with it. And then go buy the silk flowers and make it look like their flowers grew. And what we've always said is if we start these for the center and you guys are willing to put some time and effort into them, I'm happy for you to laminate, make copies, and keep those file folders and take that with you when you move on to a new job. I want you guys to have the opportunity to be creative. Come to me and say, hey, I'm looking for this. Hey, is there a chance I can get that? We do have some money to put into these, but I also want a lot of creativity. Like I said, Dawn and I, these things in your classroom that nobody uses, we use these for a lot of things. For sorting, we made the beehives out of this, and they sat and made them and put the bees in them. We don't buy a ton of new stuff. We come up with really weird, odd ideas. Missing puzzle pieces. If you have the wooden puzzles, we often take those out. We use them in our sensory because you usually have the animals or you have the cars for doing transportation. You can use those if you don't have a whole puzzle. I don't want to keep a puzzle that's missing pieces. Keep those. You can use them for a ton of different things. You'd be amazed at what I've seen thrown away. It's pretty disgusting. We're not gonna have 10 bins of everything. So you guys are gonna have to rotate if we do this. Hey, when are you doing spring? Hey, we'll probably have enough to make a few bins so that they can go between, but you may have to rotate and kind of ask questions. I'm gonna expect things to break, but what I need is for you to tell me, hey, this got destroyed in my room. Because a lot of this stuff, when you buy it from these websites, is ridiculous how much it costs. I need to watch and be able to replace it maybe when we get discounts or when I can, do a massive order. So say you lose a piece of one of these. I have extras just in all of our science stuff, so I'd be able to replace them, but what I ask is just be really conscious of not just throwing this out there and letting the kids take them and and destroy them. But the thing is like I added additional books that they could use with the puppets. You don't have to just stay with that one book with those 3 puppets. We've added in here, here's Mouse Count. It has all the mice and the snake in there. And then I laminated the sheets for them to count. So we have Elmer, we have all the felt pieces, we have the books. I bought most of the books, usually, like I said, Goodwill, that type of thing. That's the other thing we do a lot of. We make our own felt pieces, we make our own magnets. I can show you and teach you how to do all that stuff and what you're going to need to do it. I don't know if this is something, how many of you are interested, but if it is something, then I think that we should probably go ahead and get it started. It's something that some of you would want to do. When you go to use it next time, all your stuff is there. Like